Hey guys, so I'm just making this video to let you all know that I love philodendrons, and I've heard there are about 450 different species of them, and each of them are so different from each other. They come in different leaf shapes and different sizes, colors, some even come with hairy stems. I just love these stunning and versatile plants. They're favorite among so many plant parents, but sometimes they can be tricky to take care of. Welcome back to Whole Art Nature, and in today's video we'll be taking a look at how not to kill a philodendron. So whenever it comes to taking care of plants, I always relate to what they experience in their native land. So basically philodendrons are tropical plants native to lush rainforests of South and Central America. Now these vibrant jungles are their natural habitat, and for these plants to truly thrive indoors, we need to recreate these conditions as closely as possible. Before we continue on with the video, let's take a look at how a philodendron grows in their wild habitat, that is the rainforests. The first thing I noticed is that philodendrons either tend to climb on trees or they love railing down the land. And if you notice closely, their aerial roots love clinging onto barks and slightly moist surfaces and even rocks. They grow in mostly shaded areas as the forest canopy covers most of the areas for them. And in areas where they do receive more light, they tend to grow more bushier there. The next thing what we come to notice is the rainforest is heavily watered with rain. So the forest floors are always damp and slightly moist. Also, we have to notice that there is mulch all over the forest floor throughout the year. So let's just keep these things in mind and let's go over how we can mimic these things at home. The first thing I want to address is that philodendrons love climbing. As you saw in the rainforest pictures, they love a good support to climb on. This really helps them develop lush and bigger leaves as the aerial roots love to grab onto support for added moisture and nutrients. A good moss pole or a coir stick will do good, but your best bet is to make one yourself. It's very easy, it's cheaper, and there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube that you can go over and refer to. One more thing to keep in mind is some philodendrons grow huge leaves. You need to grow it on something rigid like this pillar for my balcony. Both the Florida philodendron and my blushing philodendron love the support and are growing so well. So growing them on moss poles and rigid surfaces like this pillar is your best bet. The next thing I want to talk about is lighting. So philodendrons love bright indirect light, just like the dappled sunlight filtering through the rainforest canopy. As you can see here, my balcony receives the same amount of light and it mimics the rainforest automatically. But when it comes to indoors, you gotta do a little bit of trial and error. You gotta find a window where it receives light from the morning sun, and you gotta avoid the harsh afternoon sun. And you still feel like there is too much sun coming in the morning window. You gotta cover it up with like a small or a thin fabric or like a curtain, which can make the light indirect. One more thing you gotta keep in mind is that you gotta avoid direct sunlight at no matter what, as it can burn the leaves and have brown edges all over it. Signs that it is receiving too much light is mostly yellowing leaves and brown edges. And if it's receiving too little light, then you'll have lengthy growth or like leggy growth and pale leaves. The next thing I want to address is how to water these plants. So in their natural habitat, philodendrons experience rainfall most of the time, and most of the time the forest floors are damp. So to mimic this in your balcony, you can't of course soak the pot always with water and keep it submerged with water. So what you gotta do is you gotta let the top soil, about 2 to 3 inches of soil, dry out before watering again. I feel like this replicates the rainfall in the rainforest very accurately, and this has proven me really helpful throughout the years. And I want to address few more things. Is overwatering means there's drooping leaves and there's brown tips, and if there is underwatering occurring, the leaves of your plant will become crispy and they'll start to wilt. The next thing I would want to cover is soil. Philodendrons thrive in well-draining soil that is rich in organic matter, especially like the mulching leaves found on the forest floors. I like to use a mix of garden soil, coco peat, cinder pumice, and wood chips, and a lot of leaf compost and vermicompost for added nutrients. Now this combination provides excellent drainage and aeration and is my go-to for planting philodendrons in. I'll leave a detailed list down in the description with the right amounts and everything. The next thing I want to talk about is humidity. So rainforests are known for having high humidity levels, which is very essential for a philodendron's health. Now, aim for humidity level that is around 60 to 80% for optimal growth. You can use a humidifier, you can mist your plants regularly, you can use a bowl with rocks and pebbles in it and leave some water in it. This will slightly increase the humidity altogether. But as you can see how my plants are growing, I've just grouped them together closely so that they can build the humidity together themselves. And as this is a pretty enclosed space, I think the humidity levels are maintained pretty well here. But when it comes to indoors, you gotta keep in mind and monitor it a little bit if you want really healthy and bushy philodendrons. The next thing I want to talk about is fertilizing these plants. As you know, in the rainforest, the floor is always covered with leaf compost or mulching leaves. So these decompose and give nitrogen to the soil, and that is their basic nutrition in the rainforest. I would always fertilize only when needed, only when the plant is like either not pushing out bigger leaves on its new growth, but I do tend to fertilize in the growing climates like spring and summer. This is a good thing to keep in mind. Do not fertilize your plants in winter, guys, because it's cold temperatures. They will grow less and they will like not put out new growth as much as they will in spring and summer. The next thing I want to address is how to prune and propagate these plants. So pruning is very essential for a philodendron if you want it to look bushy and not have like leggy growth. So if you want to promote branches in your philodendron, you gotta prune. Pruning really helps, and it also helps in getting you newer plants. That is how we propagate, and I love propagating with water, guys, because it is a no-brainer to me. I just pop the plant in my water, and I just have to keep changing the water every now and then, and that's it. I don't like propagating with soil because like it's a hit or miss. Sometimes the cutting will rot away and sometimes it will grow really good, but I don't want this. I rather have like a definite way of propagating my cuttings, and I can see the root growth when I propagate through water. So that's my go-to method, and it works really well with philodendrons. They love the water propagation. Coming back to all of it, guys, by understanding the natural habitat of philodendrons and replicating the conditions in your home, it is very easy to grow a philodendron at home. However rare or however hard it may be, it has its certain requirements, its certain humidity levels, certain watering levels. So you just gotta observe your plants closely and adjust your care accordingly. But your starting point should be the rainforest, and yeah, that's there. A lot of care depends on where you're from and how you treat it and where you've placed it and all of that stuff. So just maintain the good amount of humidity, the moisture, and keep a lookout for pests, and you're always good to go. It's been very rare that I have not been able to grow a philodendron. Now that's the end of the video, guys. Don't forget to leave a like, share and subscribe for more plant care tips. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments below. I would love to answer any questions you guys have. Till then, guys, stay loyal to the soil.